Tom, I don't know if you're seeing the images on the TV screen right now, coming in live from Baltimore of a mob growing, attacking a police car.
Yeah, I think, Jake, that this is just becoming increasingly dangerous, and the mob is taking on a life of its own. It's no longer, I think the adjective of protesters or demonstrators doesn't apply to that kind of behavior. Now we're getting up to where we have rioters, and they're endangering the public safety, public property, private property. This is getting too far out of control, I think.
Tom, stay with us. I want to bring in Baltimore Sun reporter Erica Green, who has been covering these protests. She was maced during the protests. Erica, where are you right now? Tell us what you're seeing. Tell us what happened to you earlier.
This vehicle does appear as though it's been totally trashed.
I'm sorry, 1 second. I'm on Flint Falls Parkway, right outside of the Mondawmin Mall, which is where the protest was supposed to begin. There was a notification that went out that students would be gathering here after school. I got here around 3:30. When I got here, it was much more than a gathering. It was, frankly, just an all-out war between police officers and students in the neighborhood. Bricks, rocks, glass, tires, trash cans, anything that could be thrown was thrown. I saw officers badly injured. I've seen journalists assaulted. It's just been absolutely insane. The crowd of students has swelled over time, as has, the number of police officers. And right now I'm standing in the middle of a big kind of perimeter that the police have formed with their bodies around several blocks of Flint Falls Parkway. So they're trying to push the crowd back into the side streets, kind of from the middle of the street where this kind of began. And, things are still being pummeled across the street at the police. But it seems like more than dying down.
Erica, hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Erica, hold on
Okay.
Erica, hold on 1 second.
Okay.
We're watching we are watching from a helicopter from WJZ in Baltimore. We are watching police taking down some demonstrators, some protesters, people who were attacking the police car.
Spread out. They're kind of going down Pennsylvania Avenue, but some of them went in another direction. We don't know.
Very much with the protesters. These young men are incredibly angry about everything happening.
Taking him. Yeah, straight up. CNN, we here, straight up. Straight up.
As you can see, there is a lot of emotion running through the streets here. We are now moving on to North Street, which is a very big avenue here in Baltimore. Thousands, perhaps 2,000 people. They marched first to the Western District Police Station, and then they marched over to the area where Mr. Gray was taken into custody the last time he was seen standing, basically. He went and fell into a coma shortly after and died 7 days later. There is one small group of protesters here. There are several hundred more coming up behind us on other streets. And as you can see, they have shut down traffic in this area of Baltimore. So far, police showing great restraint. But what they are asking for is for all six of those police officers who were named today to be charged with first-degree murder. They say that they are going to march on the City Hall on Thursday. And at that point, a little impossible here, but at that point, they will take over City Hall until they get those individuals arrested.
We will kill, straight up.
Now, Miguel, I don't know how well you can hear me.
Extraordinarily unhappy.
Extraordinarily. I mean, and you have them talking about him being murdered. They're walking by you. They're yelling the F-bomb left, right, and center here to your cameras. I mean, what's the tone? And the anger is very palpable, I will say, right? This is not as calm as people might have expected.
This is Gilmore Homes section of West Baltimore. It is a very tough neighborhood. You see burned out houses everywhere. You see a lot of poverty everywhere. You see food security. People can't afford to eat in this neighborhood. There is great anger and frustration, and they feel that the police force in this neighborhood doesn't stand up for their rights, only knows how to arrest them. In the case of Freddie Gray, for instance, the police say that he made eye contact with police and then fled, and that's what caused them to go after him. In any other city, in any other town, not probable cause, but in this neighborhood of Baltimore, it is. And the people in this neighborhood, hello, I met you last night, the people in this neighborhood are sick and tired of it, and they want it to stop. This Freddie Gray episode, for all the terrible, awful things that have happened in this area, Freddie Gray has lit a fuse, has been a lightning rod for this neighborhood.
Here's a look at the scene in Baltimore, Maryland tonight. There has been chaos and violence in the streets for several hours. Rioters storming certain parts of the city in the west, looting stores, setting buildings and cars on fire. Baltimore's mayor has just announced a curfew saying, quote, thugs are trying to tear down the city and incite violence. Maryland's governor has declared a state of emergency and activated the National Guard. For hours, there was a measured response from law enforcement, riot police standing guard as the chaos continued around them. Several police cars were lit on fire, as well as a major pharmacy. 15 police officers have been injured in the clashes as rioters pelted them with bricks and bottles. The violence erupted after a funeral was held today for 25-year-old Freddie Gray. He died a week ago after being severely injured in police custody. Joining us now by phone from Baltimore is the CBC's Paul Hunter. And Paul, describe for us where you are and what's happening there.
It's messed up, Ian. I mean, we've just left Freddie Gray's neighborhood where we have spent the past half hour. That's the area where all this is happening, where Freddie Gray was arrested earlier this month and where the riots have been, the violence has been happening all afternoon. So as we approached the neighborhood, you're passing, like, people with shopping carts full of stuff that clearly, to me, had come from places like the CVS. We saw an ATM that had been ripped out of the wall and left sort of in a shambles on the sidewalk. The closer in we got, the more sort of police in riot gear you started to see. And it was like, what you're thinking is this is a major city in the 21st century in America. And it's such a cliche to say it feels like a war zone and all that stuff. But man, that's what it was like. It's like your hands start to get kind of sweating. You think, how do we get out of here? It is a messed up neighborhood. We've been in that neighborhood a couple of years ago in the middle of the day, and we were told to get out for our own safety. This is a badass city to begin with. This is not Ferguson. This is not, the other places where we've seen. This is bad to begin with, and people are kind of freaked out about what is going to happen here tonight. Down the street from where we were when we were standing until about 10 minutes ago when the police left, and we thought we'd better get out of there because the sun is just about to set. Down about a block and a half from where we were standing, I look down, and you see looting going on. You see people going into like sort of sidewalk, street front stores, going in through busted windows and coming out with stuff, and then flashing lights down one end of the street, police in riot gear down the other end, making arrests in front of us. I'm telling you, it's like I've not seen anything like this in this country before.
Except, of course, people in Baltimore have seen it before. Those old enough, they talk about the 1960s, 68, I believe, when they saw those riots, and they're hoping it doesn't turn into another situation like that. Is there any way for you, and I know you've just arrived, but any way for you to get a sense of what might unfold, at least where you are, over the next few hours?
Yeah, not only exactly. And there were riots in Washington, and they've seen what happened in Ferguson and in New York and in South Carolina just this year, and people are angry, right? And at the funeral today for Freddie Gray, the pastor gets up to the podium and he basically says, we will not rest until there is justice. No justice, no justice, no justice. He's shouting as if to say, get up, stand up, get out there and do something. So right now, and as I speak, it's getting darker and darker, not to sound too ominous, but it is kind of freaky. Right now, like they've got a curfew on the streets in Baltimore. They're saying don't go out on the streets. So on the one hand, better safe than sorry, right? Take precautions. They're not saying evacuate the city, but they are saying stay inside. You know, when we're in Freddie Gray's neighborhood 15 minutes ago, I went up to the police officer and said, pointed at the flashing lights a couple of blocks north, and I said, can we go up there? Is that okay? And he just kind of laughed, and he said, I would not advise it.
You know, Paul, so much of this reminds me of 1992 in Los Angeles. Like phrase after phrase you give is very, very much what happened then. And take care, because, as you say, this is a city that can be pretty volatile even in normal times, and we're not sure what's going to happen tonight. Paul Hunter, live on the phone from Baltimore this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's talk to another reporter in Baltimore, also on the phone. Erica Green is with the Baltimore Sun. And Erica, as I understand it, you're back, I think, in your newsroom now. But what did you see earlier today?
First of all, thank you for having me. I was out on the ground when this kind of all started, and it started with a posting that went around social media where students were planning a 3 p.m. quote-unquote purge, which is a reference to a movie that is about, one 24-hour period of lawlessness. And the students were to meet at a mall, the Mondawmin Mall in West Baltimore, and they did. And from there, it just escalated really quickly. The crowd swelled. There were, as many police officers as there were students, and students began, throwing bricks, glass, anything that they could pick up, and it just really, it escalated very, very, very quickly. The students were not in any way fearful of the police. The police had shields, and that was pretty much all they were using to protect themselves. The confrontation spilled over into neighborhoods where, police officers eventually started throwing bricks back. I saw a, bloodied police officer being carried by his comrades, and it transpired so quickly where kids and police were facing off, and people in the neighborhood started to come, out into the streets as well to engage in this, and from there it really did move kind of down blocks. The more police pushed them away, the further they went into downtown, and really the group that started at Mondawmin has just grown and spread into what we're seeing now.
We're speaking to Erica Green, a reporter with the Baltimore Sun. And Erica, we have less than a minute, but I do want to ask you this. We don't want to be melodramatic. We don't want to make things sound more ominous than they are. But I do want to tap into your knowledge as somebody from Baltimore, as a journalist. What's your expectation for tonight?
The police cannot make it to as many scenes and as many incidents need their attention. It is dark. This started in broad daylight. I just don't see how it's going to end at night.
Erica Green, thank you very much for speaking with us. Erica, Baltimore Sun reporter in the city of Baltimore tonight.